Generally speaking, well, in all my contacts, it's just a phone call. It's your reputation. You get a phone call, they say, we have a job for you. The pay is going to be this, the pay is going to be that. And you say, okay, where is it? You say, that's it. And you say, okay, is it legitimate? They say yes or no. And if you're happy, you say, I'm going. And you can be ready to go in 24 hours.
One of the things I don't do is just put my guys into a situation because it's a contract without thinking about the ramifications. So are we using, are we an ethical company? We're a very ethical company. We probably turned down some very lucrative contracts which would have made the people involved in those contracts and my company very, very wealthy.
The distinction is in the kind of control that is attached to the money. Now, if you're being paid by a government, then you're being paid to do something which is under political control. If you're being paid to do something by an agency that is not controlled by a government, then you're open to any sort of commercial transaction.
We were basically contracted to go and look at a project in Sierra Leone by a client. We went out there, we looked at this project. It was a pure and simple security-related contract protecting a mining operation. I was then asked to go in another direction, which involved the importation of firearms into that particular country. Well, at that time, the UN had imposed a UN arms embargo. I was not prepared to step over that line. My company was not going to get involved in breaking any UN arms embargo, and as a result of that, we decided to decline continuing with the project.
The first rule is legal. I always make sure that it is legal both under the laws of the United States and of the laws of the country in which we're going to operate.
I would not work for a criminal organization. I would not work for a criminal entity, and obviously that it's my call whether that entity is criminal or not.
The second one is financial. Am I going to get paid?
It often involve a initial payment to cover expenses like a plane ticket, and you would then go and do your work, and then afterwards you would get paid. You sometimes do not get paid, it does happen. But in general, again, you learn how to pick your clients and you learn how to pick the companies that you work for.
And finally, there's moral. There are just some things that I won't do.
In 1997, I was asked if I'd like to come to Sierra Leone to do training and also operations against the rebels. And when I started making inquiries, which side which side am I offering the contract, I was told it's a government. And I said, which government? They say, government of the day. And the government of the day is a very relative term. I mean, government of the day can be the rebel government, which was the case in Sierra Leone. Subsequently, I turned that contract down.
I do believe that you have right and wrong in this world, and you have the same situation in governments. You have good governments and you have bad ones.
If I don't like what is happening, then I will pull out of the contract. It doesn't matter how much money is involved.
The mercenary needs war to survive. That's what his business is. I'm not saying it's in the interest of the mercenary necessarily to engineer or create war or situations of conflict, but where they exist, the mercenary will automatically appear.
If you choose to work for the good guys, chances are remote that you will go over and work for the bad guys, even though maybe they offer more money, because the morality of that is just too huge to contemplate.
Okay, the usual assumption is that mercenaries are simply violent people for hire. I think that's a mistaken assumption. I mean, yes, there are such individuals. Yes, there are such companies. But it is also the case that there are some who simply offer their services to individuals or groups of individuals who have a legitimate ethical claim which they cannot pursue on their own behalf.
At all levels and in all ethnic groupings inside executive councils, there was a definite sort of a reasoning process going on about the moral questions about the morality of what we were doing. It was debated, we talked about it. And you could quickly see which guys didn't care and which guys did. So, it's something that's in everybody's mind. We were, after all, private operators. We were no longer in a military environment where you had to do what you were told. You do have a choice.
From a security contractor's perspective or a security consultant's perspective, I do nothing different than does anybody when they go work for IBM or any other corporation in the world. Is that corporation doing a service or a disservice to society? And if you believe they're doing a disservice and you still work for them, what does that make you?
Hey everybody, it's me again. 3 rocket attacks early this morning around the city. Apparently the majority of the rockets were launched by remote from a carriage being dragged along a distant road by a donkey. So, now the coalition forces shoot any lone donkeys approaching them. The attacks directly on security convoys on the move are also increasing. They are rarely as effective as the high-profile attacks in Fallujah and Mosul. We regularly take on small arms fire and just keep on driving. The biggest danger of death is if you are in a vehicle destroyed by an RPG or by an IED detonation. If you do survive the initial ambush, even if the vehicles are disabled, the crews generally have a very good chance of survival, as the insurgents tend to melt away very quickly under accurate fire. Aside from attacks by insurgents, the other major danger for PSD convoys is being shot up by the Americans. If you approach a US patrol of Humvees from the rear and need to overtake them, you need to get a clear thumbs up and a wave forward from the rear gunner that he has seen and recognised you. Because I know of incidents where teams have been waved forward by the driver out of his window and the gunner on top has engaged them. Also, keep flashing your flags and ID at every vehicle, because sometimes you will overtake the rear vehicle and the next vehicle's gunner will fire at you. Blackwater has had a couple of well-publicised hits that were just bad luck, with their crew losing some men on the Bayat Road by a fake PSD team using armour-piercing bullets, and the most infamous, their team being killed and burnt to a crisp in Fallujah. In that case, you do have to wonder what the hell they were doing there in the first place, the poor bastards. Anyway, on that cheery note, it's time for me to put on my fake Iraqi costume and moustache and hit the roads again. Masalama. Farewell. James.
Walking in the sea, I do know who will be walking on the beach. And I don't have to cheat to keep me staring at what they'll never reach.
What happened at Fallujah is that you had a company, Blackwater, that had largely stayed under the radar screens. Among its many roles that it was carrying out in Iraq was this job doing convoy escort.
Most of the residents of places like Fallujah are deeply suspicious of any armed American that's either driving around their neighborhood or monitoring their activities.
The contractors that went in there went into an area that, for U.S. military personnel, the rule was you had to be in a convoy with multiple armored vehicles, and at least one of the vehicles had to be a Humvee with either a 50 caliber machine gun or a 40 millimeter grenade launcher.
They stayed at a hotel, and they asked directions of the hotel manager how to get to here and how to get to there. So the hotel manager had full knowledge of what they were going to be doing the next day.
If one person makes a mistake, then your principal's life is in danger and everybody's life is in danger on the team.
جاء أحد المجاهدين الذي يعمل في قسم الاستخبارات في الجيش الإسلامي وأخبر آمر سريتنا بأن عناصر من CIA سيمرون على طريق الفلوجة الرئيسي ذاهبين إلى مقاعدة الحبانية.
You have to remember something. Most insurgents think the contractors work for the CIA. In that particular case, I think the contractors were the target. And I think that the reason they were killed and mutilated was because they wanted to show, they had the chance to intercept them, and they wanted to show that they were winning the war against the CIA, not Blackwater or contractors.
فانقضوا على السيارة المتأخرة فقتلوا من فيها وهرب صاحب السيارة الأولى إلى الجهة المقابلة فانقض عليه المجاهدون الأبطال فقتلوا أصحاب السيارة الأخرى. ونحن نبقى على هذا الطريق إما النصر أو الشهادة.
No one can give you the exact number of private contractors that have been killed in Iraq because no one is formally tracking it. Our estimates, and this is based from media reports in Iraq or in the home area of that contractor who's killed, come together to be about right now 250 that have been killed. Of all the other nations that have sent military forces to Iraq, if you take all of their casualties combined, it doesn't equal the number of contractors that have been killed in Iraq.
Politically, the most damaging thing are dead Americans. When George Bush decided to invade Iraq, the one penalty was that every time an American is killed, he loses support.
The body bags don't come home with the U.S. flag on them. You know, you noticed when what they call contractors die, it doesn't, the president, there's no pressure on him to go out and meet that coffin.
A lot of people are familiar with, the Jessica Lynch story, and what happens when a U.S. soldier is taken a POW. It becomes a big deal. It's front page news, becomes TV movie of the week, you name it. When a private contractor is taken POW, often most people don't even know.